We're following breaking news in Laguna Beach. That's where fire crews are battling the Rancho fire. This is Citizen app video just into our newsroom, and you can see white smoke there coming from the flames. The fire is burning in the area of Rancho Laguna Road and Morningside Drive. Fire officials say buildings are threatened and evacuation orders and warnings are in place.
On the morning of July 7th, 2025, a sudden fire ignited in the usually serene hills of Laguna Beach, Southern California. The Rancho fire, as it came to be known, sent shockwaves throughout the region, engulfing not just the terrain, but also the very sense of security that residents had grown accustomed to in this picturesque part of the country.
An evacuation center has been set up at the Suzy Q Center on 3rd Street. We will, of course, continue to monitor this fire. We'll bring you any new updates as soon as we have them.
The blaze quickly spread, taking over 150 acres of land, including Bluebird Canyon, a community nestled on the edge of the wilderness. What followed was chaos. An eruption of flames and thick smoke cast a dark veil over the skyline, with hundreds of families forced to evacuate their homes in the dead of night. A collective anxiety gripped the community, especially as the fire edged closer to hillside residences, many of which had never faced such a threat before. In the end, over 100 homes were directly impacted by the fire, and while no fatalities were reported, the event has left an indelible mark on the community. But what caused this catastrophic disaster, and why did it unfold so quickly? It was around 2:15 p.m. on July 7th when the fire first ignited. Initial reports from local authorities pointed to a potential fireworks-related spark, which Mayor Alex Runagi suggested was likely the cause of the Rancho fire. The area, familiar with wildfires, has had its share of close calls in the past, but this fire was different. Unlike previous fire seasons, this one seemed to have caught the city off guard. Officials quickly mobilized, with firefighting helicopters, ground crews, and the Orange County Fire Authority, OCFA, working in tandem to contain the disaster, but it wasn't enough to stop the fire from spreading rapidly. The fire burned near Bluebird Canyon, an area notorious for its vulnerability to wildfires due to the hilly terrain and dry brush. Fire experts and meteorologists quickly pointed to a combination of weather conditions and the landscape's topography as the perfect recipe for disaster. As emergency services raced against time, questions about the exact cause of the fire loomed large. By 3:30 p.m., local authorities confirmed the fire had already spread across 3 acres, and evacuation orders were issued for La Mirada Street, Catella Street, and Summit Drive. Residents began fleeing the area, seeking refuge in nearby shelters.
It's holding at 4 acres. AirTac has mapped it. We're now just putting a lot of water on this thing to make it easier to mop up before it does get dark. But it appears the air tankers are holding, at the airport. But there's still quite a bit of work left. Trying to get hose through that heavy brush up that canyon is going to be very difficult. Our hand crew is here. The OCFA hand crew is here. I believe the Santiago crew. I imagine they're going to be cutting a line well into the night, but there's still a lot of work to be done, but the fire is looking very, very good.
At 6 p.m., smoke began to dissipate, offering a glimmer of hope, but by then, the damage had been done. Homes had been reduced to smoldering wreckage, and thousands of lives had been disrupted. Firefighters, including CAL FIRE teams and several local agencies, were on the ground, using everything from air tankers to fire hoses in an effort to contain the flames. The helicopter fleet was buzzing overhead, dropping water on hot spots, but the blaze continued to surge, especially when it encountered the region's steep, rocky hills. While the fire raged, local authorities issued evacuation warnings for areas south of Del Mar Avenue, anticipating that the fire could spread further into these neighborhoods. The city website kept residents updated with evacuation routes and shelter locations, including the Laguna Beach Community Center, where displaced residents could go for refuge. However, the mood in the area remained one of intense uncertainty. Would the fire be contained before it could claim even more homes? Why was the Rancho fire able to spread so quickly? The answer lies not just in the fire's intensity, but in the terrain of the area. The Laguna Beach hillside homes are situated in a floodplain between tall, rugged hills. These hills, combined with dry vegetation, create a funneling effect where rainwater, when it does fall, runs downhill into rivers and creeks, quickly escalating flooding. This same natural topography exacerbated the fire, creating an environment where flames could race across dry ground, often aided by 30 miles per hour winds that worsened the fire's spread. Adding fuel to the fire, fire was the area's drought conditions, which had worsened significantly in recent months. Severe drought had plagued Orange County for much of the year, creating a scenario where dry soil was unable to absorb rainwater, making the region more vulnerable to fast-spreading fires. The Guadalupe River, which flows nearby, had already been running higher than normal, and the Santa Ana winds that had fueled the 1993 Laguna fire were again making their presence felt. As night fell, the fire continued to burn, and more than 500 homes in the affected area were forced to evacuate. By 7:30 p.m., evacuation orders were lifted, though the long-term damage was clear. Several helicopter crews and ground teams continued their work through the night, but the containment was slow.
I was working out in the yard trimming the bushes, and I heard two explosions. And I said, well, that was weird. And then all of a sudden, about 10 minutes later, I looked over on the hill, and we saw smoke on both sides of the road. And we had a fire, and it was going pretty good. And it was starting to flame and run up the hill.
Did you call 911?
Oh, right.
Just 30% by the time of the final report. Injuries were reported, with 3 firefighters sustaining minor injuries, and at least 12 people from Camp Mystic, a Christian girls' camp, were found to have perished in the fire. The loss was devastating, and at least 10 girls and 1 counselor remain unaccounted for. For Laguna Beach, the fire served as a grim reminder of the region's long history with wildfires. The 1993 Laguna fire, which was also fueled by Santa Ana winds, had destroyed hundreds of homes and ravaged the area just a few miles from where the Rancho fire ignited. That event, which remains a scar on the city's collective memory, was one of the worst disasters in Laguna Beach history. While weather conditions on Monday were calm, with temperatures reaching only 70 degrees Fahrenheit, the situation quickly escalated due to the dry brush, low humidity, and high wind speeds. But what really sparked the Rancho fire? Despite the fireworks theory posited by Mayor Alex Runagi, the investigation is still ongoing. Was it a stray firework that set the region ablaze, or was there something more to it? Local authorities are working diligently to track down the exact cause, with initial reports leaning toward human error or a malfunctioning device as potential factors. However, with the area's dry brush and rugged terrain, it's no surprise that even a small spark could quickly turn into a disaster. Experts continue to stress the importance of fire breaks and early warning systems in mitigating the risk of future fires, but questions linger about how prepared the area was for a blaze of this magnitude. Was the city's fire management plan robust enough? Were funding cuts to firefighting agencies a factor in the delayed response? These remain open questions that will likely shape the conversation in the months to come. As Laguna Beach begins its recovery, officials have assured residents that rebuilding efforts are underway. The fire may have taken homes, possessions, and lives, but it's also sparked a conversation about fire safety, emergency preparedness, and the long-term effects of climate change on the region. Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency in the wake of the fire, ensuring state resources will be allocated to help the city recover. However, the questions remain: will this fire serve as a wake-up call for better preparation, or will the region continue to struggle with the same vulnerabilities? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: the Rancho fire will not be soon forgotten.